The scariest part about being told you're dying isn't the cancer. It's realizing the person who told you was lying the whole time, and your bank account is already empty. You trust someone with your life, and they rob you of everything while you thank them for saving you. The worst betrayal isn't about money. It's about hope stolen from a man who had nothing left but fear. If our stories resonate with you, don't forget to like, comment, and tell us where you're watching from. This story was shared with us by one of our longtime viewers, and he wanted his experience heard. I moved to Manila 6 months after my retirement. From Volvo. 60 years old, divorced, and tired of Swedish winters that felt colder every year. The Philippines promised warmth, cheap living, and healthcare I could actually afford on my pension. I found a decent apartment in Makati, nothing fancy, but clean and safe. The plan was simple: stretch my savings, maybe find some peace. I never expected to find death instead, or at least what I thought was death. Dolores came through an agency I found online. Certified private nurse, 5 years experience, speaks perfect English. Her profile photo showed a young woman with kind eyes and a professional smile. 25 years old, trained at a Manila nursing school, specialized in elder care. The agency fee was reasonable, 800 pesos a day for basic care and companionship. I wasn't sick, just cautious. Living alone in a foreign country, at my age, seemed risky. I wanted someone who could help if something went wrong. "Mr. Lars, I'm Dolores. I'm here to take care of you." Her handshake was firm, confident. She looked exactly like her photo. Petite, maybe 5'2", with long black hair pulled back in a neat ponytail. Professional scrubs, a small medical bag, everything you'd expect from a real nurse. "Tell me about your health history. Any concerns I should know about?" I liked her immediately. Direct, professional, but warm. We talked for an hour about my routine, my medications for high blood pressure, my concerns about aging alone. She asked good questions, took notes, seemed genuinely interested in my well-being. "I think we'll work well together, Mr. Lars. I'll come 3 times a week to check on you, help with shopping. Make sure you're eating properly. Manila can be overwhelming for new expats. Just call me Lars, and thank you. I feel better already, knowing someone reliable is looking out for me." That first month was perfect. Dolores came every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. She'd check my blood pressure, organize my medications, cook healthy Filipino meals that I actually enjoyed. We'd talk about Swedish culture, her nursing school experiences, her dreams of working abroad someday. She was intelligent, curious, and genuinely seemed to care about my health and happiness. I felt like I'd found a guardian angel in a city where I knew nobody. "Lars, I need to ask you something important." It was a Wednesday morning in my 2nd month. Dolores looked serious, more formal than usual. "When was your last complete physical exam? Full blood work? Everything?" "Maybe. 2 years ago back in Stockholm. Why? Do I seem unwell?" "I've noticed some symptoms that concern me. Your energy levels, some unusual fatigue patterns, the way you described that stomach discomfort last week. As your nurse, I think you need comprehensive testing immediately." My heart started racing. "What kind of symptoms? What are you thinking?" "I don't want to alarm you, but I've seen these patterns before. We need to rule out some serious possibilities. There's an excellent diagnostic clinic I work with. They can do complete blood panels, imaging, everything we need to know." She pulled out a business card. "Dr. Reyes is one of Manila's top internal medicine specialists. I can arrange an appointment for tomorrow." I stared at the card, trying to process what she was suggesting. "You really think something's wrong?" "I feel fine, mostly." "That's exactly the problem, Lars. Many serious conditions present with subtle symptoms at first. Early detection saves lives. Your Swedish insurance will cover everything. Preventive care is usually fully covered for international residents." That night I couldn't sleep. Every small ache, every moment of tiredness suddenly felt significant. Was I ignoring warning signs? Had I been foolish to think I was healthy just because I felt okay? Dolores had medical training. She knew what to look for. If she was concerned, I should be too. The next morning, Dr. Reyes's office was impressive. Modern equipment, professional staff, certificates on the walls in both English and Tagalog. The doctor himself was middle-aged, confident, spoke excellent English. Ms. Dolores has briefed me on your situation. We'll do a comprehensive workup. Today, just blood chemistry, tumor markers, abdominal imaging. Better safe than sorry. Tumor markers. The words hit me like ice water. Standard screening for men your age. Don't worry, we'll know everything by tomorrow afternoon. I spent 24 hours in terror. Every Google search made things worse. Pancreatic cancer, liver disease, lymphoma. Every possibility seemed worse than the last. When Dolores called, the next evening, I was prepared for anything except what she actually said. Lars, I need to come over immediately. Dr. Reyes wants to discuss your results in person. Just tell me on the phone, how bad is it? It's better if we talk face to face. I'll be there in 30 minutes. She arrived with Dr. Reyes and a folder of test results. We sat in my living room while he spread papers across my coffee table. Charts, numbers, medical terminology I didn't understand. Mr. Lars, I'm afraid the news isn't good. Your blood work shows elevated CA-19-9 levels concerning imaging results in your pancreatic region. We're looking at possible pancreatic adenocarcinoma. The room started spinning. Cancer? Are you sure? We need more tests to confirm staging, but the preliminary results are quite clear. The good news is we caught it early. With aggressive treatment, we can fight this. Dolores reached over and took my hand. I'm so sorry, Lars, but Dr. Reyes is one of the best oncologists in Manila. We're going to get through this together. I felt like I was drowning. Everything I'd planned for my retirement, every hope I'd had for these years, gone in an instant. What happens now? What kind of treatment? Immediate chemotherapy to shrink the tumor, followed by possible surgical intervention. It's expensive, but your insurance should cover most of it. Ms. Dolores has already contacted your provider to begin pre-authorization. You called my insurance? I looked at Dolores, confused. I'm sorry, Lars. I knew you'd be too upset to handle the paperwork. I hope that was okay. They said your policy covers cancer treatment up to $200,000 annually. We're going to need every bit of that. The next weeks blurred together in a haze of medical appointments, insurance forms, and treatment preparations. Dolores essentially moved into my apartment, claiming I needed round-the-clock monitoring. Your immune system is already compromised. We can't risk any infections or complications. She cooked special anti-cancer meals, measured out expensive supplements, drove me to appointments with Dr. Reyes and 2 other specialists he'd referred me to. The treatment costs were staggering. $15,000 for the first chemotherapy cycle, $8,000 for specialized imaging, $12,000 for the surgical consultation. But every time I panicked about money, Dolores would reassure me. Your insurance is covering everything, Lars. I've been working with them directly to make sure all the claims process smoothly. You just focus on getting better. I should call my sister Astrid. She needs to know what's happening. Let's wait until after the first treatment cycle. Why worry her unnecessarily? If the chemo works as well as Dr. Reyes expects, we might have good news to share instead of just frightening her. That made sense. Astrid was 72, lived alone in Gothenburg. Why cause her stress when there might be positive development soon? I could handle this myself, especially with Dolores managing everything so efficiently. The chemotherapy. Treatments were brutal. Dr. Reyes administered them in his clinic, long IVs that left me nauseous and weak for days afterward. Dolores never left my side during the sessions, holding my hand, wiping my forehead, encouraging me to stay strong. You're responding well, Lars. Your blood markers are improving. How can you tell? I feel terrible. That's normal. The medicine is working. Dr. Reyes showed me your latest numbers, much better than expected. But something felt wrong. The clinic was always eerily quiet during my treatments. No other patients, minimal staff, equipment that looked older than what I'd seen in Dr. Reyes' main office. When I asked about it, Dolores had ready explanations. This is his specialized oncology suite. Cancer patients need isolated treatment areas to prevent infections. The equipment might look older, but it's specifically calibrated for pancreatic cancer protocols. I wanted to believe her, but doubts were creeping in. The medical reports she showed me had spelling errors. The letterhead looked slightly off. When I asked Dr. Reyes specific questions about my prognosis, His answers seemed vague, almost scripted. "Doctor, what exactly is my CA-19-9 level now? How much has it improved?" "The numbers are moving in the right direction, Mr. Lars. These technical details aren't important for patients to understand. Trust the process. But I'd like to see the actual results. Can you show me the lab reports?" "Ms. Dolores handles all the documentation. She'll review everything with you later." That afternoon, I confronted Dolores about my growing concerns. "I want to see my actual test results. Not summaries, the real lab reports." Her face tightened almost imperceptibly. "Lars, you're getting paranoid. This is common with cancer patients. The stress makes you doubt everything. You need to trust your medical team." "I'm not being paranoid. I want to understand my own condition." "Fine, I'll bring the complete file tomorrow. But focusing on numbers instead of healing isn't healthy. Dr. Reyes says anxiety can actually worsen your prognosis." That night, I made a decision that would change everything. While Dolores slept in my guest room, I quietly called my insurance company in Stockholm. It was early morning there, and I managed to reach an English-speaking representative. "Mr. Anderson, yes, I see your file. You've had some very expensive claims recently. Over $60,000 in the past 6 weeks. 60,000? That seems high. Can you tell me exactly what's been covered?" "Specialized oncology treatments, surgical consultations, experimental chemotherapy protocols. The claims have all been submitted by your designated medical advocate, a Ms. Dolores Santos." "She's my nurse, but experimental protocols. I thought I was getting standard treatment." "According to the claims, you're receiving cutting-edge pancreatic cancer therapy from Dr. Eduardo Reyes at Manila Advanced Oncology Center. Very expensive, but your policy covers experimental treatments when medically necessary." I hung up, feeling sick, but not from cancer. Experimental treatments? Advanced Oncology Center. Dr. Reyes had never mentioned anything experimental. His clinic looked more like a general practice than an advanced cancer center. The next morning, I pretended. Everything was normal. Dolores made breakfast, organized my medications, prepared for another treatment session. But instead of going to Dr. Reyes' clinic, I asked her to drive me to Manila General Hospital. "Why? You're not scheduled there." "I want a second opinion. This is my life we're talking about." "Lars, changing doctors mid-treatment is dangerous. Dr. Reyes has your complete medical history. Starting over with someone new could set back your progress by months." "I'm not changing doctors. I just want another specialist to review my case." At Manila General, I asked to speak with an oncology nurse in private. I explained my situation, the diagnosis, the treatment, my growing doubts. She listened carefully, then asked to see my medical records. "Mr. Anderson, I hate to tell you this, but these documents don't look legitimate. The formatting is wrong. The medical terminology is outdated, and this clinic address doesn't match any facility I know of." My legs went weak. "What are you saying?" "I think you should request your original test results from the laboratory that performed them. Real labs keep digital records that patients can access directly." I called the lab listed on my reports from Dolores's car while she waited inside the hospital. The receptionist was confused. "Sir, we have no record of any tests for Lars Anderson. Are you sure you have the right laboratory?" My hands were shaking as I hung up. I looked at Dolores through the hospital windows, watching her pace nervously. In the waiting area. For the first time, I saw her clearly, not as my caring nurse, but as a stranger who had systematically isolated me, controlled my information, and convinced me I was dying. The drive home was silent. Dolores kept asking what the oncology nurse had said, but I couldn't form words. Everything I thought I knew about my health, my treatment, my future, it was all crumbling. That evening, I finally called Astrid. Hearing my sister's voice made me break down completely. "Astrid, I think I've been lied to about everything. I think I might not even be sick. Lars, what are you talking about? You said you have cancer." "I don't know anymore. I think my nurse has been stealing from me. The medical reports might be fake. I don't know what's real. I'm calling the Swedish consulate in Manila immediately. Don't sign anything else. Don't give her any more money. Don't make any medical decisions until we sort this out." After I hung up, Dolores emerged from the kitchen where she'd been listening. Her entire demeanor had changed. The caring professional nurse was gone. What stood in my living room was a cold, calculating stranger. "You called your sister?" "Yes, and—" "My insurance company, and a real hospital." "Lars, you're making a terrible mistake. Your confusion is a symptom of your illness. If you stop treatment now, you'll die. Show me one piece of real medical evidence that I have cancer, one legitimate test result. Everything I've shown you is real. You're just scared and looking for someone to blame. The lab has no record of my tests. The hospital doesn't recognize your clinic. My insurance company says I'm getting experimental treatments I never agreed to." For a long moment, she just stared at me. Then something shifted in her face, a mask falling away. "You really want to know the truth, Lars?" "Yes. You don't have cancer. You never did. But you're a lonely old man with too much money and too much fear. Living alone in a country where you don't speak the language, you were perfect." The words hit me like physical blows. Perfect for what? For exactly what happened. You paid for medical care you didn't need, treatments that don't exist, and medications that cost me 50 pesos at the local pharmacy. Your insurance paid for procedures that never happened in facilities that barely exist. How much money? From your insurance, about $80,000. From your personal accounts for emergency medications, another 20,000. She shrugged. "You can afford it." I felt like I was falling through space. All of it? Everything was fake? Dr. Reyes is real. He's my cousin who works at a general clinic. He needed money for his mother's surgery, the test results, the medical reports, the treatment protocols. I have a friend who's good with computers. Very convincing, don't you think? Why? Why would you do this to someone? Because I can. Because old Western men come here thinking they're so smart, so superior. But you're just scared children with money. You want someone to take care of you, to make decisions for you, to tell you everything will be okay. I gave you exactly what you wanted. I trusted you. I thought you cared about me. I did care. I cared enough to make your last months meaningful. You felt important, brave, like you were fighting something noble. Isn't that better than just being another lonely expat waiting to die? The next morning, Dolores was gone. She'd taken whatever cash I had in the apartment, along with some jewelry and electronics. But the real damage was already done. Months of insurance fraud, drained savings accounts, and a trust so completely shattered, I wondered if I'd ever feel safe again. I spent the next week in a strange limbo between relief and devastation. Relief that I wasn't dying of cancer. Devastation that someone had manipulated me so completely. The Swedish consulate helped me file police reports, but the chances of recovering any money seemed slim. Dolores had vanished as efficiently as she'd appeared. The hardest part was telling people what had happened. Astrid flew to Manila immediately, bringing a mixture of concern and barely concealed judgment. How could you not have suspected anything? How could you let a stranger control your medical decisions? She wasn't a stranger. She was my nurse for months. She saved my life every day, or at least I thought she did. But the inconsistencies, the strange medical reports, surely you noticed something. I was scared, Astrid. I thought I was dying. When someone offers hope, you don't question it. You grab onto it with everything you have. My few expat friends in Manila reacted with varying degrees of sympathy and suspicion. Some saw me as a victim, others as a fool who should have known better. The judgment was almost worse than the financial loss. I'd become a cautionary tale, the naive foreigner who fell for the oldest trick in the book. The insurance investigation took months. They eventually recovered about 30% of the fraudulent claims, but the rest was gone forever. My personal savings were a total loss. At 60 years old, I had to rebuild my retirement finances from almost nothing. But the money wasn't the worst part. The worst part was learning to trust my own judgment again. Every interaction felt suspect. When I needed legitimate medical care for a minor infection, I panicked at the doctor's office. When I hired a new cleaning lady, I questioned every recommendation she made. When anyone showed kindness or professional interest, I wondered what they really wanted. I considered moving back to Sweden, but that felt like admitting complete defeat. Instead, I found a small apartment in a different part of Manila, enrolled in Tagalog classes, and slowly began building a new life based on self-reliance rather than trust. I joined an expat support group where I met others who'd been scammed in various ways. Their stories made me feel less alone in my stupidity. 6 months later, I ran into someone who knew Dolores, a Filipino nurse working at a legitimate hospital. "Oh, you knew Lola? Yeah, she's in Singapore now. Heard she's working as a companion for an elderly German man. Sweet girl, very caring." I didn't correct her. What was the point? Dolores would continue moving from one vulnerable expat to another, refining her methods, perfecting her compassion. She told me the truth in that final conversation. I was perfect for her scheme because I wanted to be taken care of. My loneliness and fear had made me an ideal victim. Looking back, I can identify every moment when I should have questioned something. The medical reports with spelling errors, the clinic that was always empty during my treatments, the cousin who happened to be an oncologist, the friend who was good with computers. But when you're frightened and alone, you don't want to see the red flags. You want to believe that someone cares about you enough to save your life. The real lesson isn't about medical fraud or insurance scams. It's about the dangerous combination of isolation, fear, and trust. I moved to the Philippines to escape loneliness, but I became more isolated than ever. I hired Dolores to feel safer, but I put myself in the most vulnerable position possible. I thought I was paying for medical care, but I was really paying for the illusion that someone gave a damn whether I lived or died. These days, I'm healthier than I've been in years. Real doctors have confirmed that I'm fine. No cancer, no serious conditions, just the normal wear of aging. I've made genuine friends in the expat community, learned enough Tagalog to navigate basic situations myself, and developed a healthy skepticism about anyone who promises to solve my problems for money. But I still think about Dolores sometimes. Not with anger exactly, but with a kind of sad understanding. She was right about one thing. I did want someone to take care of me. The tragedy is that I paid a fortune for fake care when real care was available for free from my sister, from potential friends, from a community I was too proud and scared to join. If you're an older expat living abroad, please learn from my mistake. Don't let fear make you vulnerable to predators who specialize in exploiting lonely foreigners. Get second opinions on medical diagnoses. Keep control of your own finances. Stay connected with family and friends who knew you before you became an expat. And remember, if someone seems too caring, too helpful, too perfect for your situation, they probably are. The scariest part about being told you're dying isn't the cancer. It's realizing the person who told you was lying the whole time and your bank account is already empty. But even scarier is understanding why you believed them in the first place.